It's a really important question to ask yourself before you start, or while you're making it at home as a hobby. Why are you making chocolate? Do you want to build a brand? Do you like making chocolate? Do you want to grow a chocolate company? And how much money do you need to make in order to just be okay? What's up, everybody? My name is Dylan with Manoa Chocolate, and today we are going to do an episode that I think is very important for just about every chocolate maker getting started, and a lot of them who have been around for a little while. This is making money making chocolate, which is not an easy thing to do. We've been in the game about 14 years now, and we've grown a lot, always using our own money. I'm going to give you just some frameworks for the way that Manoa Chocolate has done it, and there's been nothing easy about it. It has been a challenge at every step. There was no one else to copy or follow. The best thing that I could recommend for making money while making chocolate or starting a chocolate company is to focus on retail initially. That's because you don't have any economies of scale in order to focus on wholesale or private label co-manufacturing. You have to retail everything. And there's also a minimum viable size you need to start at. And so this is my recommendation. It would be 3 stone melangers at a minimum of 25 kilos each. And the way that this math breaks down is if you run those 24/7, every 3 days, you can make, let's be conservative, 400 bars per grinder. That's somewhere, let's be more conservative, 2,000 sellable bars per week. This assumes 7 days a week of retailing, 2,000 bars per week conservative at $10 per bar. That's 285 bars that you would be selling retail per week. And that is $20,000 per week, $80,000 per month, and $960,000 per year. So this is based around a model of approximately $1 million of sales, gross sales at the end of the year. Let's assume your business at the end of all your expenses has 10% profit, $96,000. Let's take it a step further and say you paid yourself $5,000 per month because you have expenses. You have rent or a mortgage. You have to buy food. For now, let's assume that $5,000, you're going to pay 30%. Easy math. That means that $3,500 a month is what you're taking home to live on. And at the end of all of that, that means you had $42,000 a year that you paid yourself, and your business before taxes made $36,000. That's $1 million of sales with retailing everything. So I hope this is a bit of a wake-up call for the minimum viable scale that you need to be in order to start a chocolate company and all the risks that come with that. It's super risky. It doesn't even mean that you're going to be able to do that. That would be unlikely in your first years. So as a reality check, there's nothing easy about starting a manufacturing company. The hidden costs, they're astronomical. The economics of scale are really important, which is why Manoa Chocolate continued to invest in scaling up, because I recognized really early on that I didn't want to struggle to pay rent and to buy beans again and have these cash flow issues. So I recognized the need to get bigger, and I started very young. I started the business at 24 or 25, and so I knew I had a lot of time that I could be very risky. If I was in my 60s, it would probably be a very different story. But because of my age and because of my lack of awareness in what it took to start a business, I really went for it. But I also knew from the very beginning I wanted to start a big business. That was always my goal. And so I didn't care about anything else. That was my roadmap. I know where I'm shooting for, which made all my decisions much easier to make. So it's a really important question to ask yourself before you start, or while you're making it at home as a hobby. Why are you making chocolate? Do you want to build a brand? Do you like making chocolate? Do you want to grow a chocolate company? And how much money do you need to make in order to just be okay? So super important questions to ask yourself from the beginning. Once your business, let's say, has achieved this semblance of balance, somewhere around $1 million of sales and somewhere around 10, hopefully more percent of what your business is keeping for itself after paying you, you can start to explore wholesale. and co-manufacturing and online sales. These are other really nice avenues that Manoa Chocolate does that helps pay our bills. There's also distribution, but let's keep that aside for now. That you can get to once you start playing around with ball mills. If you're not playing around with ball mills or 3-roll mills or 5-roll mills, you don't even want to think about distribution, which means that you're selling for really cheap to a distributor who sells to a retailer like Whole Foods who retails it. So wholesale, that would mean that if we're choosing the $10 model of a retailed chocolate bar, you'd be selling for $5. So we would sell to Whole Foods for $5. They keystone it, which means they double it, and they sell it for $10. That's generally how it works. Not all stores are the same. Some have smaller margins than others. But that means that you're trying to sell a bar for $5. It might cost you more than $5 to make. In the beginning, before I understood how any of this worked, and I was very idealistic on what costs were involved in starting a business, I was selling bars for $6 and it was costing me $7 to make. I just had no idea on how to price my time and the hidden costs of just rent and utilities and insurance and all of the random things that you just don't think of. That would be wholesaling. Online, you keep everything. You have, in fact, less overhead than retailing because you don't have to pay for as much space or as much labor, theoretically, to sell online. But it's very important on all of these things that we're talking about. If you're going to hire people, which is the last thing you should try and do because that's where most of your money is going to end up going, is you be efficient as possible with your labor. If someone's being hired, you need to be so efficient with them. And that can be a really challenging thing to be able to make sure you tell your employee, hey, we really got to pick up the pace here. That's the make or break, life or death of your business, is how efficient you are with your labor when you're manufacturing something. We're not in service businesses here in most cases if we're making chocolate bars. That means your hand labor is turning into a physical product. You have to be efficient. The last thing would be co-manufacturing. This is something I really enjoy doing. We make chocolate for a lot of other companies that grow cacao in Hawaii. And I think that this is a nice way that ties to our mission, which is to help develop a cacao industry in the state of Hawaii, because it's not always very profitable, especially with the smaller accounts, but it's something we really love to do, and it can be profitable, especially as those cacao growers or people who hire us to make bars for them get bigger and hit the economies of scales. If we're doing one ball mill, it's really inefficient and probably we make no money on that because of the time it takes to run through our whole line now. If we're going to do 10 ball mills of something, this is now really helpful for Manoa Chocolate, and we actually make money, and it's even cheaper for the person we're making it for. So economies of scale, super important. Something I haven't really talked about is throughout the process of getting to where we're at, you're forcing yourself to grow, and it's extremely painful. You're always reinvesting in bigger machines, which means you need more space and you need more temperature controlled. You need to bring in utilities. You have to hire electricians, architects, engineers. You have to work with people who cost a lot. And it takes a lot of your time away from running the business and manufacturing. So growth is super painful, and it shakes up your whole team. Your team is constantly exhausted of the changes that are being forced in order to just hit that next comfort scale. But if you don't do that, you can't pay anyone more, and you're going to lose people anyway. So the beginning of businesses, that's why the first 10 years are really, really hard. First 5 years are really hard. If you slow down, which you can do, and find that sweet spot where you're making enough money, you can pay your staff enough, like you'll find what works for your business. But for us, it's been 14 years now, or let's say 12 because of when the brick and mortar of Manoa Chocolate began. There's been very few times where I've stopped pushing for growth. And that's why Manoa appears to be a much bigger company in the craft chocolate industry than a lot of the other ones, because I've just been relentlessly pushing for growth. Because I understand that that is future comfort and that is future positive impact in the chocolate world itself. In the craft chocolate market, we have a goal of trying to help develop a craft chocolate industry as well. So these are personal missions, and like I was saying in the beginning, that's what's pushing and driving me. Some of the things I've learned over the last 14 years There's a lot of people who are going to offer you advice, and it's good to listen to them, but you're going to want to actually listen to none of the advice as far as taking it. Almost none of it. Unless this individual who's consulting you or offering their opinion has done what you want to do. It's very easy to get sidetracked listening to lots of people, your parents, your significant other, your cousin, your friend, but they probably are not offering you very good advice, even if they're well-intentioned. So it's important to only listen to people who have done what you want to do, whether that's starting a chocolate factory or whether that's starting a manufacturing company, if you're interested in starting that. So that's a really important one. If starting a company is your purpose, a chocolate company, I've been kind of illustrating how difficult it is to do. You're going to likely lose friends, best friends, spouses, family. It can be a long and difficult road with that because people aren't going to understand what you're trying to do if this is your purpose and your passion. And all of that's happened to me. And you just have to stay focused on why you're doing it. It has to be so deeply in you in order to get to those next levels where, like I said, following your purpose. So that's something that I've gone through, and that's been very turbulent and difficult. But it's worth it. I love what I'm doing, and I think it's worth it. You need to learn from the beginning, which I had to because we started literally making our own machines, and I was pedaling a little bicycle and hooking up shop vacs to suck the shells away and back massagers to vibrate the beans in. You have to be frugal. If you're not frugal, you will not be able to scale because you're going to mismanage the money you have. So whether you start with lots of money, which is always preferable, or you start with a little money, you still have to maintain a frugality to the nature in which you run your business, because you'll have all kinds of hidden expenses that'll just hit you out of nowhere. And if you haven't been careful, you will have to borrow money in order to pay for those. That cannot go away no matter how big the business gets, because you will be blindsided with insurance expenses that you just had no idea were coming. You must be perpetually optimistic. Otherwise, you're just going to be too beat down. It's too hard. You have to be optimistic and know that it will get better. And it does. It really does. Extreme persistence is another one that I think is my greatest strength. You just continue on. Every day is a new day. There's times where you're going to break. You wake up, you start again, and just keep that optimism again. It will get better. You get comfortable with being uncomfortable and the change, and that's been my general experience starting a chocolate company. So yeah, I think that's making money making chocolate, and that probably applies to a lot of other businesses that make stuff, especially when you start small. Hope this is helpful. We're going to be doing a series on chocolate courses. If this is something that you guys are interested in, please write in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you also would like to see more from what we can offer with this channel, and we'll do our best to make more videos. All right, cheers, have a good one, aloha, and see you next time.